Welcome to the Explainer. We're totally bypassing the usual pleasantries today because, well, we've got a truly fascinating mystery to unravel, the hidden link between music, accents, and the brain. If you've ever wondered why certain things just seem to instantly click for some people while others struggle immensely, you are absolutely in the right place. We're going to be looking at a shared neurological network that dictates an unbelievable amount of our daily lives, from how we talk all the way to how we move.
Okay, let's dive into this. At first glance, the questions you're pondering right now look like entirely separate, isolated issues, right? I mean, why do some people never lose a heavy foreign accent no matter how long they study a language? Why do others consistently clap offbeat at karaoke or look awkwardly uncoordinated during a group dance? And why do some kids struggle so profoundly with early childhood reading? We typically categorize these as language problems, coordination problems, and educational problems, but the science shows us they are actually pieces of the exact same neurological puzzle.
And here is the core premise that changes everything. Music, language, and movement share the exact same processing system in your brain for time and sound patterns. These are not separate, isolated skills tucked away in different corners of your brain. Not at all. Instead, they're different physical manifestations of a single, highly powerful brain network. When you speak, when you sing, and when you move to a beat, you are essentially drawing from the exact same cognitive well.
Section 1. Pitch perception and accents. Why sentence melody matters.
So, English isn't a tonal language like Chinese, where the literal definition of a word changes based on a high or low pitch, but that definitely doesn't mean pitch doesn't matter. In fact, English relies immensely on sentence melody, specific stress patterns, and intonation contours to convey actual meaning and context. Let's mentally test ourselves with the word really. If I say it with an upward pitch at the end, like really, I'm conveying genuine surprise. But if I use an elongated downward pitch like really, suddenly I'm being dismissive or sarcastic or annoyed. It's the exact same word, but the entire meaning shifts purely based on pitch perception. If your brain struggles to process those subtle pitch changes, you're missing the actual communication happening right beneath the vocabulary.
And this brilliantly illustrates how pitch functions at the word level. Take the word spelled R-E-C-O-R-D. If we stress the first syllable, record, it's a noun, like a vinyl record. But if we stress the second syllable, record, it's a verb, the action of recording a video. Someone with weak pitch processing might memorize the spelling perfectly, they might even ace their grammar tests, but they're still going to struggle with unstable word stress. They'll place the emphasis on the wrong syllable because their brain just isn't effectively processing pitch as a carrier of grammatical meaning.
Because of this, individuals with weaker pitch perception often experience very specific struggles. They might maintain a heavy foreign accent for decades. They'll find it incredibly difficult to imitate the specific intonations of French or Japanese. They might frequently sing out of tune. And a really classic example in linguistics, many English speakers learning Chinese might master the consonants and grammar, but their four tones remain permanently unstable. Why? Simply because their brains haven't been trained to recognize these subtle pitch variations as vital clues for meaning.
Section 2. Rhythm and physical coordination, beyond just hearing the beat. Now, we've talked about how this system governs language and pitch, but let's shift gears to the physical realm. The exact same brain system that governs our understanding of spoken senses also governs how our bodies move through physical space. This brings us to a foundational concept that's heavily researched in psycholinguistics: beat synchronization. This is the ability to stably align physical movements with an external rhythmic pulse. It sounds simple, but it actually requires a massive amount of neurological heavy lifting. It's not just about hearing the music, it's about seamlessly integrating your auditory processing with your physical motor systems in real time. When this beat synchronization is weak, it manifests in highly relatable, sometimes pretty awkward everyday moments. You know exactly what I'm talking about. The person clapping off beat in a crowd, the friend entering the karaoke track a second too early, or dancing just half a beat behind the music. It even extends beyond music into physical coordination, like poor timing in a jump rope game, missing a pass in team sports, or totally struggling to follow a simple metronome. So the crucial point is this: rhythm isn't just hearing. Rhythm is prediction. To clap perfectly to a beat, your brain can't just react to the sound it just heard, because by then, you're already too late. Your brain has to detect the beat, accurately predict exactly when the next beat will arrive, and launch the physical movement from your muscles at the precise millisecond needed to land on that anticipated beat.
This leads to a fascinating and honestly classic observation. Sometimes, a person has perfect auditory perception. They can hear exactly when a singer is off-key or off-beat, but when they try to clap along themselves, they still miss the timing. This perfectly demonstrates a weakness in what we call sensory motor coupling. The auditory system works totally fine, but the brain struggles to translate that sound information into physical action efficiently. The bridge between the ears and the hands is just a little bit weak.
Let's move to section 3 and see how this builds. Beats and dyslexia, the timing of reading.
So how on earth does physical rhythm connect to something as visual as reading a book?
Well, we've connected pitch to accents and rhythm to dancing. In the context of this neurological network, a high risk for reading difficulties or dyslexia is often not a visual inability to see words on the page. Instead, it is an unstable brain processing of the temporal structure of speech. English reading is highly dependent on phonological timing. This completely shifts the perspective for parents and educators away from just focusing on visual letters to focusing on the brain's internal timing mechanisms.
Let's break down what actually happens when a child learns to read. When reading a word like banana, the brain doesn't digest it all at once in a single visual gulp. It has to slice it rhythmically. Step 1, ba. Step 2, na. Step 3, na. It processes syllable timing, stress, and sound sequencing on the fly. Now imagine larger words like catastrophe. That requires incredibly rapid, complex phonological timing to instantly chop the word into catastrophe while maintaining reading flow. If the brain's internal rhythm processing is unstable, fluent reading becomes incredibly exhausting.
This completely illuminates why nursery rhymes are absolutely critical in early childhood education. Things like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, Hickory Dickory Dock, rhyming, chanting, and clapping games, they are not just cute activities to pass the time. They are foundational training for the brain. They are directly building the child's syllable timing, stress prediction, and phonological segmentation skills. If a child struggles to tap a rhythm or learn clapping games, it's actually a massive early indicator that they might struggle with reading fluency later on.
Section 4. Core, Brain Prediction Mechanism, the Grand Unifying Theory.
We can finally merge these mysteries into one unified theory. Because these systems are so deeply intertwined, researchers consistently find that musical training is a ridiculously powerful tool for boosting overall linguistic ability. People with musical training generally have faster second language acquisition. They have an easier time reducing foreign accents, a better ability to detect subtle emotional tones in a conversation, and superior speech segmentation, meaning they can easily filter out background noise to focus on a single voice in a crowded room.
At the very foundation of all of this is the ultimate biological driver: predictive coding. Your brain is, quite simply, a non-stop prediction machine. It is constantly processing the environment to anticipate exactly when the next musical beat will drop, exactly when the next spoken syllable will land, and exactly where the heavy stress in the next sentence will fall. It wants to know what happens next before it actually happens.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is when we map out this grand unifying theory, we can trace very specific neurological weaknesses to their exact real-world manifestations. If you have weak pitch perception, it manifests as a heavy accent and unnatural intonation. Weak beat synchronization shows up as poor timing in dancing, clapping, or sports. Weak phonological timing directly increases the risk of reading difficulties like dyslexia. Weak sensory motor coupling means you can hear the rhythm fine, but you just can't reproduce it with your body. And weak stress perception leaves your spoken language sounding slightly unnatural or non-native. It is literally all connected by the exact same wiring.
I want to read this quote directly from the source material because it is just so incredibly powerful. Music ability is less about art talent and more about temporal and auditory prediction systems. This completely reframes how we view human ability. Being musical isn't just about having some mystical, artistic muse. It is a fundamental cognitive capability of processing time, sound, and sequence.
So, I leave you with this final thought. If your brain is a lifelong prediction machine constantly hungry for patterns, what rhythms will you start feeding it today? Whether it's learning an instrument, clapping along to a metronome, or just paying closer attention to the melody of the voices around you, how will you use this incredible hidden network to change how you move, speak, and learn? Keep exploring those rhythms.